Welcome to the deep dive. Our mission really is to take all these sources you send us, the viral clips, the hot takes, and pull out what really matters so you're totally up to speed on these sports media flashpoints. Today, we're diving into media access professionalism, specifically those coach-reporter moments that just seem to blow up online instantly.
That's right. And we've got some pretty interesting sources. There's this core incident, a really tense sideline exchange between a CBS reporter and an NFL coach. But like you said, it doesn't stop there. We've got to look at the fallout, especially the commentary from Jason Whitlock, a former journalist, whose reaction, well, it really shifted the whole debate.
Exactly. We want to go beyond just the quick clip. We need to look at the specific words used, on the sideline and in the commentary afterwards. So we'll unpack that moment, look at the reactions, which were really divided, and then see how this same commentator uses similar tactics elsewhere.
Okay, let's jump in. The friction point. The sideline, middle of the game, halftime. Week 4, Bears versus Raiders.
Yeah, and setting the scene is important here. The Bears were losing. That automatically ramps up the tension, right?
Yeah.
The halftime interview is always a bit awkward, but when your team's down.
Oh, definitely. It becomes a potential flashpoint. And this one involved NFL reporter Aditi Kinkhabwala and Bears head coach Ben Johnson. So Kinkhabwala starts with a pretty standard question, really. So what did you tell them to get things going? Kind of giving him an opening for the usual coach speak.
And he sort of took it, at first anyway, though you could tell he was probably frustrated.
Yeah, his reply was all about, needing a reset and finding their identity. He said, that wasn't our brand of football, hitting the reset button here at halftime, and we're going to come back and establish our identity here in the second half. Classic non-answer, really. But then Kinkhabwala asked the follow-up that changed everything.
Right. She didn't just let the coach speak hang there. She challenged him directly, asking, do you need to change what you're doing? That phrase, need to change, that's pointed.
That's the bit that went viral. It was definitely designed to get a real reaction, not just the script. And it worked. The sources point out he didn't just brush it off. He paused, stared at her for like a couple of seconds, which feels like forever on live TV. Just silence.
That silence is pure tension. You can see him processing, deciding how to react, stay professional or not.
He chose. Not really. Snapped back with sarcasm. A rhetorical question of his own. I don't know. You think so. We're going to be just fine. Super dismissive. But credit to Kinkhabwala, the sources say, despite that awkwardness, like a aggressive tone, she kept her cool. Put on a bold face, it says, and just kept reporting. Shows you the pressure they're under.
So you have the coach losing his cool, getting defensive over a tough question, and the reporter standing her ground. That's the interaction itself. But the real controversy, the thing that got everyone talking, that came next, right? On social media with the commentary.
Exactly. Enter Jason Whitlock. Clip goes viral and Whitlock jumps in.
Yeah.
But his focus wasn't really on the coach's unprofessionalism. It was on the question itself. And, well, who was asking it?
Okay, let's unpack that because the source calls his comments misogynistic. What exactly did he tweet? What was the full quote that aimed at sort of delegitimizing her?
Yeah, it was very specific. Here's a tweet defending Johnson. Let's all pretend like the real insanity isn't some woman who knows nothing about football questioning a coach on the sideline during a game. Let's pretend Ben Johnson is the crazy person, not the crazy system that normalized the situation.
Wow. Okay, that's way beyond just defending a coach having a bad moment. He's not just critiquing the question. He's attacking her right to even be there based on gender and his assumption about her football knowledge.
That's the core of it, saying she knows nothing about football. That's an attempt to just strip away her credibility entirely. He calls the whole system that allows women reporters on the sideline crazy and the real insanity. So yeah, it's not just about one interaction. It's framed as an attack on women in sports journalism in these roles.
It completely shifted the narrative, didn't it? From coach conduct versus reporter questions to who belongs in sports media, who gets to ask questions. But what's interesting is how the wider reaction played out compared to Whitlock's take.
Right. Whitlock clearly tapped into a certain viewpoint, maybe people who think sideline access is too much, or reporters ask dumb questions. But the sources show the majority of fan comments, the general reaction online, actually called out Coach Johnson. They felt he wasn't professional enough.
That's fascinating. It suggests maybe the public expectation has shifted, that people generally expect these high-profile coaches to handle the media, even tough questions, with more composure. They sided more with the reporter's right to ask.
It really does highlight that friction we talked about. Coaches hate those interviews, especially mid-game when things are tense. Reporters see it as their job. They're one shot for a live comment. And when someone like Whitlock jumps in, that friction gets turned into a bigger debate about access, power, and yeah, often uses gender to stir the pot. It takes the focus off the coach's actions and puts it onto the reporter's credentials, or lack thereof in his view.
Makes sense. It's like lighting one fire reveals a pattern. And this kind of commentary, this personalized, high-stakes criticism, it isn't just aimed at reporters, is it? We have other sources showing Whitlock using a similar playbook, turning his attention to a player recently.
That's a really important piece of context, yeah. We should look at this other statement he made targeting Shedder Sanders, the Cleveland Browns QB.
Right. What was the deal there? How does it fit this pattern?
Well, Whitlock just stated, pretty much as fact, that Sanders wants to be traded from the Browns soon, which is pure speculation presented as inside info. And it's especially loaded because, Sanders is QB3 right now. He's unlikely to play this season, according to the depth chart, even though apparently he's eager to get on the field.
So, suggesting a trade demand before he's even really played, that's instant drama. Creates a story out of thin air, basically.
Absolutely. And the timing was interesting. This came right after Sanders himself had made some waves. He'd called out other QBs, saying he was definitely better than them, but, didn't name names.
Ah, okay. So a young player makes a bold, kind of vague claim. Perfect setup for someone like Whitlock to jump in and, well, fill in the blanks.
Exactly. Whitlock connected the dots, or drew his own dots, really. He speculated that Sanders was actually targeting Tua Tagovailoa in Miami. The implication from Whitlock was that Sanders' boast wasn't just trash talk. It was a calculated play to get the Dolphins interested, to basically angle for a trade out of Cleveland.
So whether it's the reporter on the sideline or the backup QB, the pattern seems to be take a moment of tension or a bold statement, add a very personal critique, questioning competence, motives, ambition, and then blow it up into some kind of systemic issue like insanity or trade demands.
Yeah, and you have to wonder about the motivation, right? It feels like it's about generating outrage, clicks, engagement. These commentators often thrive when they can turn a small friction point into a much bigger media battle. It keeps them relevant, keeps people talking about them, whether the claims hold up or not.
Okay, this has definitely been a deep dive into how these sports media controversies ignite. So let's recap for you quickly. We looked at that specific sideline moment, Kinkhabwala's pointed question to Coach Johnson, his reaction, the pause, the stare, the curt reply. Then we spent time on Jason Whitlock's commentary, that really inflammatory tweet, how it shifted the focus, and how it contrasted with what seemed to be the more common fan reaction citing against the coach's professionalism. And we connected that strategy to his comments about Shedder Sanders speculating about a trade demand.
Right. And the common thread through all of this is just the intense scrutiny everyone's under, coaches, players, reporters, and how fast any perceived slight, any tense moment can just explode into these huge debates online. The media plays a role in reporting it, sure, but also in amplifying it.
Which brings us to a final thought for you to chew on. We see the fan reaction often siding against the coach, demanding professionalism, but think about those sideline questions like, do you need to change what you're doing? Especially when a team is losing. Is the intensity of that kind of questioning just reflecting what you, the public, actually want to see? That raw, unfiltered moment? Or has the media environment, the commentary sphere Whitlock operates in, become so focused on viral moments that these questions are almost designed to provoke a reaction, maybe less for insight, and more just to create the kind of clip we've just spent our time analyzing? Something to think about.